The movie business is one of those industries that's a sucker for lifting actors up to the highest of highs, whilst forever being prepared to just drop them like a bad habit when things get a little bit shaky. Such is the erratic nature of the silver screen, and there have been plenty of times when an actor has shown their brilliance and their not so brilliance in different projects over a short space of time, maybe even with back-to-back releases. With that in mind then, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 actors who gave their best and worst performance in the same year. Number 10, Melissa McCarthy, 2018. Melissa McCarthy is an actress who clearly made her name in comedy, with roles in Gilmore Girls, Mike and Molly, Bridesmaids, The Heat, and Tammy just being some of those which pushed her into the mainstream. So, when McCarthy was announced to replace Oscar winner Julianne Moore on Marielle Heller's Can You Forgive Me, a fair few eyebrows were raised at the Illinois native's casting in such a serious picture. Based on the 2008 confessional memoir of Lee Israel, Can You Forgive Me had McCarthy star as the struggling writer who looked to reinvigorate her career by forging letters from dead authors. Mesmerizing in the role though, McCarthy actually grabbed herself an Academy Award nom for her work, with co-star Richard E. Grant likewise getting himself an Oscar nomination. What made Can You Forgive Me stand out even more though was the fact that it came directly after the Happy Town murders. Now, despite the premise of a tongue-in-cheek, gritty, puppet human buddy cop movie sounding like a fun one on paper, The Happy Town Murders was brutally bad and ranks as the worst movie which McCarthy has had the displeasure of starring in. Number 9. Patrick Stewart, 2017. Sir Patrick Stewart is one of the modern-day greats of the acting world, an absolutely lovable scamp of a person who brightens up every project he's in. Now, while this is always going to be contentious with a career brimming with excellent turns on screens both big and small and on the stage, it could be easily argued that the greatest movie performance of Sir Patrick's career is his appearance as an elderly, unstable and ill Charles Xavier in 2017's Logan. There, audiences found it Professor X, whose extreme powers had been left erratic due to his age and brain disease. As this frail Charles, Stewart was on phenomenal form though, bringing a whole array of varying emotions to this beloved character. Somewhat bizarrely though, that same year also saw Patrick Stewart take on the role of Poop in the Emoji Movie. Yes, as in the great thespian and star of stage and screen, the man who is forever immortalized as the iconic Jean-Luc Picard of Star Trek lore was relegated this year to voicing a literal piece of crap. Now, to his credit, Stewart was actually fine as Poop. It's just, this is somewhat of a low for someone of Sir Patrick's quality. As such, by default, this marks the worst performance of his career, purely for how everything he's ever done is better than this film. Number 8. Sandra Bullock, 2009. It takes a most unique aligning of the stars for an actor to appear in films in the same year that land them both an Oscar nomination and a Razzie nomination by the time it comes to awards season. For Sandra Bullock, this was exactly what happened with her 2009 work though. Whilst her stunning performance in The Blind Side saw her win the Best Actress gong at the 82nd Academy Awards, her turn in the dire All About Steve resulted in a Golden Raspberry win for Bullock as well. Adapted from Michael Lewis's book of the same name, The Blind Side found Bullock playing the adoptive mother of a poverty-stricken young boy who would go on to play in the National Football League. In All About Steve, on the other hand, let's just say things weren't quite as emotive or poignant. Where All About Steve is concerned, Sandra Bullock plays a lonely, desperate woman whose only friend is her hamster. The Steve of the title is played by Bradley Cooper, and Bullock's Mary ends up stalking him after an initial blind date. Able to poke fun at how bad her performance and the movie were though, Bullock actually attended the 2010 Razzies to personally accept her Worst Actress gong. Not just that, but she also gave each member of the audience a DVD of All About Steve as well, and the following night Sandra Bullock attended the Oscars to pick up her Best Actress award. Talk about pulling double duty. Number 7, Josh Hartnett, 2001. Two 2001 movies, both starring Josh Hartnett, both loosely based on real events, and both with Hartnett playing a member of the military. Despite those similarities, it is safe to say that Black Hawk Down and Pearl Harbor are two vastly different pictures when it comes to the quality of these all-one offerings. As Matt Eversman, Hartnett gave the best performance of his career so far in Black Hawk Down. Even if I would allow someone to say 30 Days a Night, that's also really, really good. For Hartnett at the time, his burgeoning reputation as one of Hollywood's hottest rising stars was solidified here, with the picture marking him out as a genuine top-tier talent. However, it was for being one of Hollywood's hottest rising stars, though, that Michael Bay was so eager to sign Josh Hartnett up for his Pearl Harbor, which released 6 months prior to Black Hawk Down. Painfully long, ludicrously historically inaccurate, brimming with excruciating dialogue, bizarrely weaving a love triangle into the real 7th of December 1941 bombing of Pearl Harbor, and anchored by 2 dismal performances from Hartnett and Ben Affleck, Bay's picture was universally panned upon its release. While Black Hawk Down would show Josh Hartnett at his best, his performance as Pearl Harbor's Captain Danny Walker was the actor at his worst. Number 6, Ewan McGregor, 1996. Having already impressed a year prior in Shallow Grave, 1996 was when Ewan McGregor launched himself into superstardom. So much of said launching, though, was down to McGregor's career best turn as Mark Renton in Danny Boyle's Trainspotting, whilst Brassed Off was another 96 effort for which the Scot also received praise. Shining a spotlight on the drug addiction and poverty that was rife in certain areas of Edinburgh, Trainspotting was an engaging entertainment uber-cool picture that forever had a gut punch waiting around the corner. And as written, McGregor was marvellous as the addict desperate to escape the long reach of that urge for your next hit. While Trainspotting and Brassed Off made for a fantastic 1996 for Ewan McGregor though, and that year's The Pillow Book was also decent enough, the actor also took on the role of Frank Churchill in Douglas McGrath's adaptation of Jane Austen's Emma. Now, Trainspotting might have seen McGregor's Renton swimming around in literal crap at one point, but Emma saw him often spouting it in a mixed bag of a movie. His delivery here felt extremely clunky, his chemistry with Gwyneth Paltrow's titular lead was nowhere to be seen, and even Ewan himself has since stated, such as to BBC Radio 1 via Digital Spy in 2004, how he regrets doing the picture because he simply wasn't very good in it. Number 5, Tom Cruise, 1988. While Dustin Hoffman took home a Best Actor Academy Award for his role as Ray Babbitt in Rain Man, one of an impressive 4 Oscar wins for the film, so much of the heavy lifting fundamentals of this 1988 picture were done by Tom Cruise as Ray's brother Charlie. By 1988, Cruise was hot on the back of Risky Business, Top Gun, and The Colour of Money. And 88 started off extremely rough with Cocktail, before Rain Man came along to deliver the Cruise's greatest performance. Of course, an actor with a tenure and sheer variety of credits as Tom Cruise is going to cause debate when it comes to their best performance, and some may very well point to one of his Ethan Hunt outings in the Mission Impossible series, but Rain Man was a pivotal moment in the actor's career. As alluded to though, prior to Rain Man's release, 1988 also saw Cocktail hitting cinema screens. With Cruise as a New York business student forced to take a job as a barman, the film is a bit, well, naff. So much so that the movie and Cruise were both nominated for a Razzie Award. Interestingly, Tom Cruise has since told Rolling Stone how Cocktail was quote-unquote not a crown jewel of his career, which is polite actor chatter for it was pure tripe, mate. Number 4, Uma Thurman, 1994. Adapted from Tom Robbins' 1976 novel of the same name, Even Cowgirls Get the Blues finds Uma Thurman playing a hitchhiker with abnormally long thumbs. Eventually finding herself on a ranch, Uma's sissy character becomes part of a group of cowgirls who end up in a shootout to the death with a slew of government agencies over the status of a bunch of crane birds which have nested at the ranch. Even Cowgirls Get the Blues bombed hard, with Thurman coming in for particular criticism, to the point that she, like many others on this list, was nominated for a Golden Razzie for this god-awful performance. On the flip side of 1994 though, this was also the year that Uma Thurman shot to stardom following her outing as Mia Wallace in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Viewed by many to this day as Tarantino's finest hour, Pulp Fiction was a pop culture phenomenon upon its release, with Thurman front and centre on the poster and marketing for the film, as she put in likely the finest performance of her career. Number 3, Alec Baldwin, 2003. When thinking of the great Alec Baldwin movie performances, 3 films that immediately spring to mind are Glengarry Glen Ross, The Cooler, and The Departed. And for sure, Glengarry Glen Ross and The Departed find Baldwin in majestic magnetic form, but those respective roles are relatively small ones. So, if truly breaking down Baldwin's greatest cinematic outing, and no, it's not Beetlejuice, you have to go with his turn in 2003's The Cooler. In that Wayne Kramer-helmed offering, Baldwin Shelley is a Las Vegas casino manager obsessed with keeping his cooler, the venue's resident bad luck charm, miserable in order to stop said casino from having too many winners. From his work here, the 30 rock star picked up his only Academy Award nomination to date. Hot on the heels of this impressive outing, that November would see Baldwin also as Larry Quinn, the main villain of Mike Myers' dreadful The Cat in the Hat movie. So bad was this Dr. Seuss adaptation, by the way, that it failed to make its budget back at the box office, currently has a 9% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and had a sequel that was immediately cancelled. Number 2, Jennifer Lawrence, 2012. Horror movies are often looked upon unfavorably, but it is tough to argue that 2012's House at the End of the Street isn't a total stinker of a movie. A generic, scare-free, scary movie that tries far too hard to make itself appear smarter than it really is. The film hitched itself to Jennifer Lawrence in the hope that her burgeoning megastar status could elevate the picture at the time. Instead, though, the movie drags Lawrence down to its level rather than vice versa. In an admittedly smart move, Relativity Media pushed House at the End of the Street's release back 7 months from February 2012 to that September. Why was this done and why was that smart? Well, that's because the film was then on screens 2 weeks after the Lawrence starring Silver Linings Playbook received its world premiere to huge buzz. As a troubled young widow who has her focus on Bradley Cooper's Pat, Lawrence's performance as Tiffany won the then 22-year-old an Academy Award for Best Actress, with Silver Linings Playbook also receiving a further 7 Oscar nominations. Number 1, Benedict Cumberbatch, 2021. Now, okay, look, I know I've already lost a bunch of you with the thumbnail for this video, but please just give me a minute or two to explain. It may be a smidge controversial, but some people, including myself, came out of Spider-Man No Way Home thinking that Benedict Cumberbatch was a little, well, off as Doctor Strange. This late outing for Cumberbatch as the master of the mystic arts wasn't awful by any means, don't get me wrong. It's just that Cumberbatch has had such a great career that this less than excellent performance sticks out as being a bit wonky. Now, of course, some of this has to do with the writing. I mean, whether it was how easy Strange caved to Spider-Man's pleas to erase all knowledge of his secret identity, how extremely cold he was in certain situations, or even how some fans went into No Way Home expecting Strange to possibly even really be Mephisto in disguise, things just didn't really feel right in certain scenes. It's not a bad performance, but for an actor of this level who's done this multiple times before, you do expect better. And what makes this worse is that released less than a month before Spider-Man No Way Home, Cumberbatch got to take center stage as Phil Burbank in Jane Campion's 1925 set, The Power of the Dog. Here, the Sherlock favourite gets to dig deep into a fascinating multi-layered character who is quick to ridicule, easy to anger, brazenly jealous, yet has a whole lot more going on under the surface. For those who have seen this Netflix release, it'll come as no surprise to hear that The Power of the Dog and Cumberbatch are already in conversation for next year's Academy Awards. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about these years for these actors here? And are there any ones that could have been on here as well? While you're down there as well, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't, though, I've been Josh. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.